Welcome. My name is Tia Shackelford, and I am a Human Resources Benefits Specialist with the Department of the Treasury, Bureau of the Fiscal Service. The Bureau of the Fiscal Service is partnering with HUD's Human Resources Office to provide a variety of HR services to the HUD workforce. I am glad to be here with you today to discuss crediting post-1956 military service towards retirement. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a general overview of the military service deposit process. We hope after today you will have a basic understanding of the different types of military service and which post-1956 military service is creditable for retirement purposes. Post-1956 military service refers to military service occurring after December 31, 1956, and which does not interrupt federal civilian service. Additionally, after today, you should understand what some of the benefits of making a military service deposit are, the differences in how military service deposits are handled under different retirement systems, and the basic process of making a post-1956 military service deposit. Currently, if you are covered under one of the federal retirement systems, CSRS including CSRS offset, or FERS including FERS-RE and FERS-FRE, and have certain military service, you may be able to make a military deposit to receive retirement service credit. Generally, making a military service deposit increases the annuity you receive when you retire, and it may also allow you to retire sooner. Additionally, in the event of a deceased federal employee, a spouse or former spouse who is entitled to a survivor annuity can also make a military deposit. We will be discussing 4 major topics today. First, we will discuss the different types of military service and which service is creditable for retirement purposes. Second, we will examine the benefits of completing a military service deposit. Next, we will look at how military service deposits are treated in different retirement systems, both CSRS and FERS. And finally, we will examine the process of making a post-1956 military service deposit through the Bureau of the Fiscal Service Benefits Service Center. There are several types of military service, some which are creditable for retirement purposes and eligible for making a military service deposit, and other service that is not. Military service that is creditable for retirement purposes and eligible for making a military service deposit include any active duty military service performed in any of the uniformed service branches in which you receive an honorable discharge. Additionally, military academy service is also potentially creditable. This service includes service as a midshipman or a cadet. Also, service in the Army or Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps is potentially creditable. Such service includes ROTC students who are ordered to active duty. And finally, while most National Guard and Reserve service is not creditable, such service performed under Title X is potentially creditable. Title X service is mobilization ordered by the President for national security purposes. There are certain criteria that must also be satisfied for military service to be creditable for retirement purposes. First, military service must be performed before your date of retirement. Second, creditable military service most oftentimes cannot be included in the computation of military retired pay, meaning you will not receive credit for military service in your CSRS or FERS annuity if you are receiving military retired pay for the same period of service. Additionally, in most cases, a military service deposit must be paid in full prior to retirement to receive credit. While there are many types of military service that are potentially creditable, there are some types that are not. These non-creditable types of military service include any military service with a less than honorable discharge. This includes dishonorable discharges, clemency discharges, neutral or uncharacterized discharges, or officer dismissals. Additionally, most National Guard and Reserve service performed under Title 32 is not potentially creditable. Title 32 service is traditional Guard or Reserve service typically ordered by a governor for a variety of domestic activities such as hurricane relief efforts. Also, any time lost recorded on your DD-214 is not creditable and will be subtracted from your total service. Finally, if you are receiving retired pay, your military service is generally not creditable unless your retired pay is based on any combat-incurred disability or on reserve service. You can, however, receive full credit for your military time if you pay the necessary deposit for that service and then waive your military retired pay at the time of your civilian retirement. Deposits cannot be made on any non-creditable service, and this service cannot be included in your annuity computation unless it falls under one of the mentioned exceptions. If a period of military service is creditable for retirement purposes, a military service deposit might be required to receive credit towards your annuity. Service that is eligible for making a military service deposit includes military service performed after December 31st, 1956 or post-1956 service, and service performed under the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act of 1994, also known as USERRA service. Military deposits can be made for post-1956 service to receive credit towards your annuity, and no deposit is required for military service performed prior to 1957. Additionally, military deposits are required to receive military service credit for USERRA service. USERRA service is the military service that interrupts your federal civilian service. If you are a current federal employee with prior military service, you should consider making a deposit for your military service for two main reasons. First, you will receive service credit for your military time, which will be used towards your total amount of civilian service. This may allow you to retire sooner from your civilian position. Second, making a military deposit will generally increase your overall amount of annuity received when you retire. Therefore, making a deposit means more service credit and more money. That's a win-win. Now that we understand the benefits of making a military deposit, let's discuss how deposits are handled in the different retirement systems. For CSRS employees, the requirements for a deposit depends on whether you were first employed in a CSRS covered position prior to or on or after October 1st, 1982. If you were first employed in CSRS covered position prior to October 1st, 1982, no deposit is required to receive full credit for honorable post-1956 military service. However, Social Security may impact how your military service credit is treated. If you are eligible for Social Security at retirement or at age 62, whichever is later, and you have made a military service deposit, you will receive full credit for your post-1956 military service. If you have not made a deposit and retire before age 62, but will become eligible for Social Security at age 62, your military service is used for computation of your annuity at retirement. However, at age 62, your annuity will be recomputed by subtracting the creditable military service. If you are eligible for Social Security at the time of retirement, the military service will not be used at all in the computation of the annuity. Therefore, it is beneficial to make a military service deposit if you anticipate being eligible for Social Security. If you were first employed in a CSRS covered position prior to October 1st, 1982, and you will not be eligible for Social Security at age 62 or at retirement, no deposit is required, and you will receive full credit for all post-1956 military service. If you were first employed in a CSRS covered position on or after October 1st, 1982, any post-1956 military service is not creditable towards your retirement eligibility or annuity computation unless a military deposit is paid in full. Now that we understand military deposits and how they are handled under CSRS, let's examine how deposit amounts are computed. The amount of a CSRS military deposit is equal to 7% of your military base pay plus any applicable interest. If you were first employed in a CSRS covered position prior to October 1st, 1983, interest started accruing on October 1st, 1985. CSRS law does provide a 2-year interest-free grace period, and the first interest accrual date is 3 years after your first CSRS covered position. If you were first employed in a CSRS covered position on or after October 1st, 1983, interest started accruing 2 years from the date you were first employed. The first interest accrual date is 3 years from the date you were first employed in a CSRS covered position, and the interest is variable and accrued and compounded annually. Let's look at an example to get a better understanding of when interest begins accruing. You have military service from July 1st, 1976 through June 30th, 1978, and begin your first CSRS covered position on November 2nd, 1983. The interest accrual date for this example would be November 2nd, 1986, or 3 years after you began your first CSRS covered position. Since we have a good understanding of military service deposits and how they are treated under CSRS, let's examine how military service is handled under FERS. For any post-1956 military service, a military service deposit must be paid in full to receive credit for eligibility and annuity computation under FERS. It is highly encouraged that all FERS employees with eligible post-1956 military service make a military service deposit. Now that we understand how military service are handled under FERS, let's examine how deposit amounts are computed. The amount of a FERS military deposit is equal to 3% of your military base pay plus any applicable interest. Interest begins accruing on October 1st, 1989, or 2 years after retirement coverage begins. There is a 2-year interest-free grace period, and the first interest accrual date is 3 years after your first FERS position. The interest rate is variable and accrued and compounded annually. If the deposit is paid in full prior to 3 years of your hire date, then the deposit is interest-free. Let's look at an example to get a better understanding of when interest begins accruing. You have military service from July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2005, and begin your first FERS Fray covered position on January 20th, 2015. The interest accrual date for this example would be January 20th, 2018, or 3 years after you began your first FERS Fray covered position. In this example, if the military deposit is paid in full prior to January 20th, 2018, no interest would be charged. However, if the deposit is not paid in full prior to January 20th, 2018, interest will be charged on that date and compound annually on any remaining unpaid balance until the deposit is paid in full. It is to your benefit to make a deposit as soon as possible, so contact us today. Since you now understand the basics of crediting military service for retirement, let's discuss how to begin the process. First, gather any applicable information. This would include any military documentation regarding your service history, including all Member 4 copies of your DD-214s or any applicable transcripts of service. Second, please contact our Benefits Service Center to discuss the process with a Human Resources Specialist. Our office will request your estimated earnings from your branch of military and review your service history and military documentation to verify eligibility. Once the estimated earnings are received, a Human Resources Specialist will prepare an estimate for the deposit amount so you can decide if you want to pay the military deposit. If you choose to complete the deposit, the Human Resources Specialist will prepare a deposit application, either in Standard Form 2803 or a Standard Form 3108, and send it to you for your signature and verification of payment. After receiving all the information and when you decide to proceed with making a military service deposit, there are options for making the payments. First, payments are made directly to the employing agency, not OPM. This is one reason all military service deposits must be paid in full prior to retirement. Second, military service payments can be paid in one lump sum or through installments. If you choose to make payments in installments, the payroll provider will set up installment payments that will be deducted directly out of your biweekly paycheck. Installments must be a minimum of $25 per pay. Once your Human Resources Benefits Specialist receives a paid in full, your Benefits Specialist will update your personnel records accordingly. But please remember to keep a copy of all military deposit documentation for your records. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this presentation provided valuable information to help you better understand the military service deposit process and the benefits of making a deposit. Please feel free to contact our Benefits Service Center to address any questions you may have or to begin the process of making a military service deposit. The Benefits Service Center phone number is 304-480-8275, or you may send an email inquiry to benefits@fiscal.treasury.gov. Thank you for your service and have a great day.